Hello lovely fairy tale friends, and welcome to my new video. Today I'm going to read for you Alice in Wonderland. I hope you enjoy it and subscribe my channel. Alice was getting tired of sitting with her sister. She had tried reading her sister's book, but as it didn't have any pictures or people talking, it was very dull indeed. She was just wondering whether to pick some daisies for a daisy chain when a white rabbit ran past. Now, seeing a rabbit isn't so very remarkable. Alice wasn't surprised when the rabbit cried, oh dear, I shall be too late." But when it took a watch out of its pocket, she jumped on. For whoever saw a rabbit with a pocket or a watch? She chased after it and was just in time to see the rabbit pop down a large hole. In a flash, Alice followed. At first, the hole went on like a tunnel. Suddenly, it dipped, and Alice found herself falling down a deep well. The well was lined with shelves full of interesting things, and either it was very deep, or Alice fell slowly, for she had plenty of time to look around. I must be near the middle of the earth, she thought after a while. What if I fall right through? I might end up in New Zealand. Down, down, down. Alice began to think the fall would never end. She was daydreaming about her cat, Dinah, when, thump, she landed on a heap of dry leaves. Not in the least hurt, Alice stood up and looked around. A long passage stretched ahead of her, and the white rabbit was hurrying down it. Alice went after him like the wind. She had almost caught up with him when he turned a corner and vanished. Alice was in a long hall with doors down both sides. Excitedly, she tried each one, but every single door was locked. Just as she thought she might never get out, she saw a glass table with a golden key on top. Alice walked down the hall once more, but the key was too small for the doors. Then she spotted a tiny door half hidden by a curtain. Holding her breath, she tried the golden key in the lock. It worked. Beyond the door was the most beautiful garden Alice had ever seen, with bright flowers and cool, sparkling fountains. Alice tried to squeeze through the door, but not even her head would fit. I'll go back to the table, she decided. Perhaps it has another key to a bigger door. But instead of a key, she found a bottle with a label saying, "Drink me." That wasn't here before, thought Alice, checking it carefully. Since it wasn't marked poison, she took a sip. It tasted so delicious, a mix of cherry tart, custard, toffee, pineapple, and hot butter toast, that she had very soon finished it. What a curious feeling, Alice said next. I think I'm shrinking. And she was. Soon she was small enough to go into the garden. To her huge disappointment, the garden door had closed, and she'd left the golden key on the table. She could see it glittering through the glass, a long way out of reach. Alice tried to climb a table leg, but it was too slippery. After 3 tries, she fell to the floor and began to cry. That won't help, she told herself sharply. As she wiped her eyes, she noticed a glass box under the table. The box held a cake. I'll eat it, thought Alice. If I grow larger, I can reach the key. If I grow smaller, I can creep under the door. Either way, I get into the garden. Chapter 2. The Pool of Tears. Curiosa and curiosa, cried Alice, who was suddenly growing at an incredible rate. Goodbye, feet, she had locked down. Her feet were almost out of sight. She only stopped growing when her head hit the ceiling. Quickly she grabbed the key and hurried to the door. Now she was far too big. Alice began to cry again, sobbing and sobbing until a pool of tears spread around her. After a while she heard pattering feet and dried her eyes. It was the White Rabbit, trotting along in a great hurry and carrying a pair of gloves and a fan. If you please, sir, Alice began. The rabbit jumped in the air and scurried away, dropping the gloves and fan as he went. Alice picked them up and began to fan herself. How very strange everything is today, she thought. Alice was wondering just what could happen next when she began to shrink again. Moments before she shrank again, altogether, she realized the fan was to blame and dropped it. It was a narrow escape, she sighed. Now for the garden. But the tiny door had closed, and the golden key was back on the table. Things were worse than ever. Just then her foot slipped and splash. She was up to her chin in salty water. She'd fallen into her pool of tears. Something else was splashing around too. At first, Alice thought it was a walrus or a hippo. Then she remembered how small she was and saw it was only a mouse. The pool was soon crowded with creatures that had fallen in. Alice led the way and the whole group swam to shore. Chapter 3. A Caucus Race. It was a very odd party that gathered on the bank, and all of them were dripping wet, cross and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry. The best thing, said a dodo, would be a caucus race. A what race? Asked Alice. The best way to explain is to do it, the dodo replied. There was no 1, 2, 3, go. Everyone began and ended when they liked. After about half an hour, the dodo called out, "It's over," and they all crowded around, asking who won. They surrounded Alice, demanding prizes. In despair, she felt in her pocket and pulled out a tin of peppermints. There were enough for exactly 1 each. But she must have a prize too, said the mouse. Of course, said the dodo. What else is in your pocket? Alice took out a thimble, and the dodo solemnly presented it to her. Then they sat down in a circle. The mouse started to tell them a story, but he left in a huff when he thought Alice wasn't listening. I wish Dinah was here, said Alice. She'd soon bring him back. Who's Dinah? Asked a bird. Our cat, Alice said eagerly, and in no time at all the creatures had gone. If you liked the video, I hope you subscribe my channel. See you next time.